Did you have like those their teachers that kind of just fill in whenever?
That was teacher.
Bro,
We loved her, bro.
That's one of my favorite teachers in school. Was one of those guys, bro.
Yeah.
Love that guy, man. He'd always keep us behind class because he was an Arab guy. He'd always keep us behind class. How are you not gonna get married? You can't. Listen, he'd be like, you can't go up to be like this. You have to fix up. Your parents don't understand it. And we were like 14. We're like, bro, chill, man. What's that dude?
Sulaiman, how was your week, bro?
Saadadeen. This is how we start every podcast. My week was good, bro. Very busy, but busy is good. I'm the events officer for the Islamic Society at Cambridge. So this week we've organised a program of events called Explore Islam Week, and essentially we've organised events to introduce and deconstruct aspects of the Islamic faith for non-Muslim members of Cambridge. We organised like an event about the environment. We organised an event about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We organised an event about the role of notable women in Islamic history. And we've got an open mic night tomorrow. Saadadeen and I will be performing. So we'll give you an update about that next episode. But yeah, mad busy, bro. Mad busy. How's your week been?
Yeah, man. This week's been interesting. I've been trying to hone this strategy I have in lectures. So in lectures, I always try and sit at the front. And my rationale is if I was to go to any concert or basketball game or whatever, the most expensive seats are always right at the front. And that's for a reason, right? That's when you get most of the action. That's when you get what you're paying for. So when I go into lectures, I'm like, hold on, why would I sit at the back if I got a choice and I can sit at the front where I'm getting right exactly what I'm paying for, my 9K plus
9K,
worth.
man, get that 9K.
And so I'm just like, let me sit at the front. And I find it quite beneficial. You're like very exposed into all of for me, I find I remember all the lectures I've been to if I sit at the front. If I sit at the back, then it's kind of like I'm just a passenger. So
do you find yourself not getting as distracted? Like,
yeah, man, because the thing is, when you sit at the back, you can see what everyone's doing on their laptop, staring at hella back of people's heads, people sleeping and all of that. But when I'm sitting at the front, it's like all I'm seeing is the show, innit? Like the show is going on in front of me. HD, get me 4K. So
when you see people on Facebook as well, you're like, if people on Facebook, you know it's
exactly. You could be in your own world.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to implement that.
So
man.
you're a nerd. I'm joking.
Yeah, so but I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to encourage my friends to like also sit at the front, innit? Because I'm just like, fam, why are you sitting at the back? There's no point, fam. It doesn't make sense.
But the worst one is when you come late to lectures. I know.
I can't do that. Yeah, nah. When I'm late, I
you gotta take the L.
Yeah. It depends how late I am though. If I'm like only a couple minutes late, then I'll just walk to the front, innit? But if I'm hella late, then it's like, listen, let me just kick.
You know what I've always been interested in? This is kind of a mad tangent, yeah. But how late do you have to be for you not to go to a lecture? You know what I mean? I feel like that's a very individual question. Like, some people are cool with coming half an hour in. For me, I can't really see myself doing that.
Yeah.
5-10 minutes.
I'll go half an hour in, man.
Really?
Yeah.
But you come to events half an hour in. That's just you,
what's
bro.
the point? If you're coming half an hour in, you're not even gonna clock what the lecturer is talking about. Then there's a waste of time.
Do you know what it is? For me, they do it in sections. So I'm like, all right, cool. Forget the other sections. I'll write them off. I'll just focus. I'll just pretend that like this is the section from when they start from. I'm on it. I'm on the ball. And more time for me. The way I look at lectures is just like you lot aren't teaching me nothing, innit? Anything I get from you is a bonus. The real work is when I go and read the book.
I feel him. Yeah.
So you like if I happen to get cool. If I happen to get something cool, that's nice. It just means that when I read something, I'm not going in dry.
Do you know the best ones though? The best ones is when you got like a 9 a.m. lecture. And you wake up at 9 a.m. You're like, there's no way I'm going to make it now. Just go back to sleep.
When you don't have the choice, innit? Yeah. When you have a choice. When it's like 8:45, then it's like, allow it, man. Now you have to start weighing things up, calculating distances. When it's like 9 or 10, it's like perfect, bro.
It's cool. Go back.
Decision's done for me. It's all good. Right, this one up. But yeah, we got a very special individual in the room.
Very special.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name is Sofyan, fourth year medic at Cambridge. From northwest London, originally from Jordan. Cool. Yeah, man.
How was your week, Sofyan?
It's not too bad, bro. Not too bad. I was in placement in hospital in King's Lynn. I mean, not many people probably know what that is, but that's like near Norwich, so it's like northeast from here. I was there. I'm on the endocrinology ward, so mostly like diabetic patients and stuff. So yeah, seeing those guys, and then came back yesterday actually, and today I had this thing called like clinical communication skills at Cambridge. So it's like you go in, and you have like an actor who's like professionally trained, and then they act out like a specific scenario for you, and you have to deal with the scenario as if it's real. And then obviously they give you pointers like what to say, things to do. So like the whole scenario today was breaking bad news to patients. And that's probably the hardest one we've had so far, because we've had like talking to elderly, like starting off, like taking history and stuff. But breaking bad news is tough, bro, because like I was telling you before, you have to watch every single word you say. You can't deviate, man. And you got to be real with them as well, because like you can't tell a patient, yeah, you got this condition, but it's not that serious. Even if it's that deep, then you got to tell them it's not good, because otherwise they get expectations go high, and then if something bad happens, then they'll come to you and be like, yo, what you saying, fam? You told me I'm alright, I'm gonna be good.
You just seen him from far pointed like it was him. He told me.
You can't do that. And plus, if I put myself in that situation, I'm like, if it was me, I would want people to tell me straight away.
Yeah, fully.
But then some people are not like that, you know.
They want to be direct. They don't want you to be direct.
I want them to be direct with me.
Okay.
But a lot of people are not like that. A lot of people want you to be like, to come in smoothly with it.
Yeah,
like,
sugarcoat.
for me, I want you to tell me the statistics, bro. How long I got left? Everything. Because like, if I have like 3-4 months left and you don't tell me, I'm because I want to know. I want to plan my life ahead.
Yeah.
But some people are not like that. Some people want to just want it like smoothly. Bro.
Yeah.
What was one thing you learnt in terms of how to deliver bad news? What was a skill? What words to avoid?
Just watch every single word you say. Like believe, don't say believe. Like don't say I believe, we believe you might have this, or we think you might have this. Nah, we know from your results, we know that you have X, Y, Z.
Sofyan, man, let's start at the start. What are some early memories that come to mind about yourself, man?
You can break my life up into like 6 quarters basically. So 6 years in Jordan, 6 years primary, 6 years secondary, and now 6 years hopefully uni. So the first 6 years, I was born in Jordan. And obviously I was quite young, so there's not much I can remember from there, but I still have like certain recollections of things. But I can say like the thing I remember the most, without question, is my granddad. So my granddad, like when I was young, probably the biggest impact on my life when I was young. Because I was the first grandchild there, so obviously I was a bit sport. But so my dad was in the UK at the time, and my mum was working. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. I come back from school, chill at my grandparents' yard for very long. And obviously I had like a really close relationship with him. He passed away last year, I must make that up for him, but he was just an unbelievable character, man. Like he's just an unbelievable man. Like just a bit of context of the guy before I talk about him. He's the oldest of the family. And you know how it's probably similar in Sudan, like the eldest of the family, not just the oldest of his brothers, the oldest amongst his cousins as well. So he's the head of the family. You know, when people have a problem, they go to him to sort it out. And to fit that role, you have to be a politician. And you got to have like a strong character as well. Like it's not easy to sort out problems between people, especially if they're both related to you. Do you know what I mean? So number one, you got to be a politician for that. But you got to have a strong character as well. You know what I mean? You got to stand for what you think is true. And he was just an honest guy. Do you know what I mean? Like just the most honest human being. Like, everyone knew he would tell you straight. Like he wouldn't be around the bush. He was honest with you. And I can honestly tell you, I've never in my life heard him talk about anyone behind their back, ever. And that's a hard thing if you deep it, yeah? Because like when you're sitting down with your guys, you just talk about something, some guy's name pops up in conversation. It's easy to get like drifted and start talking about people, but in my life, I've never heard him talk about anyone behind their back. And that's a mad feature when you think about it. That's something I admire about him. Another thing is like, despite having that strong side, at the same time, he was like the kindest, most gentle person I have ever met in my life. Like all the kids would love him. Everyone loved to be around. Everyone loved to talk to him, and that's not easy to have. It's not easy to balance those two skills together. Do you know what I mean? You don't meet many people that are like that.
How did he do that, man? Like,
it's probably experience, though, man.
Yeah,
it's probably experience, because like where he grew up in Jordan, it's not easy.
Of course,
it's quite tough. Like so it wasn't. He didn't have many of the privileges that we had, so you had to adapt. You know what I mean? You had to learn how to deal with those difficult situations. But at the same time, I don't know how he managed to do it, but he managed to keep that soft side at the same time, which is really rare. Like, that's something I wish I have. Like, to be able to deal with those really difficult situations, but at the same time, everyone's just so, like, easy around you. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is so happy to be around you, and everyone, like, feels at ease when they're around you. Crazy.
Bro, I had a lecture on 1967, man.
It's a crazy war.
That was a crazy war.
It's mad, because if you think, he was telling me stories about how, so there was no protection in the sky for them.
Yeah.
So they were on the floor, and there were planes above them just hitting them down with bullets.
Yeah.
And you just and it was every man for himself. Just got to deal with that situation. And I'm thinking, like, if you caught a bullet, then
Where would you be?
where would I be in it? Like the trajectory of my life would be completely different.
Yeah.
And it's mad, man. Like at that time, my dad probably wasn't even born. So even he wasn't old enough to hear those stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, those war stories are interesting, man.
No, very interesting. And I feel like a generation, because people in our country, like the UK, the most recent big war in the UK was probably the Second World War, if we're being honest, if not the Falklands War.
Yeah.
And that generation is gonna not be here soon. So the kind of the experience of war in the UK context is going to be forgotten somewhat unless people study their history.
Yeah, for sure.
And the experience of war, as you've mentioned, is very powerful in terms of shaping your character and building that sense of resilience.
Do you think that's important, like to retain the knowledge of previous war? Would that help you from avoiding future war, or does it not matter?
I think it does
Definitely.
to an extent, because war is like hell on earth. You
For
know what I
sure,
mean?
yeah.
Like if you hell on earth, you know what I mean? Like if you, based off documentaries, based off my own research into military history and war, you do not want to be involved in anything.
It's not a nice place to be,
It's
man.
not a nice place to be at all, man. Like that's transformational to say the least. But you know what an interesting question is? I was having a conversation with my friend when I was in secondary school about whether it's important for ethnic minorities or for people of South Asian or African descent or Middle Eastern descent to know that their ancestors fought for the British in World War I and World War II. Like, do you think if more British people knew that our ancestors fought in World War I, World War II, that there would be less racism? He was like, bro, they don't care about that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if 1 million Indian people fought in World War I. I'm still gonna, you know what I mean? Like, people aren't really gonna change.
Your friend, where was he from?
So he's from Somalia, but he said that racist people will not care about that piece of fact. You know what I mean?
That's probably true, but like, there's lay people, there's normal people that don't know that fact. That probably will affect the way they think.
Yeah.
It's like that thing, 1917, the movie.
Yeah.
They had like a Sikh character, and some guy came out on BBC and was like, "Oh, they're just doing this to
tokenism kind of thing."
Yeah. And then some guy came out and was like, "Bro, like 2-3 million Indian people fought in World War II. I don't know what you're talking about. If it wasn't for those guys, you wouldn't even have your freedom, bro."
Nah, fully.
And I think it's definitely underrepresented for sure, or not taught about enough.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it as well. Like teaching about war, I think it's important.
100%.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Like I knew about it from a young age, because like, and I think it allows you to appreciate stability a lot more.
Yeah,
that's
I think that's why it's really important as well.
Yeah, for sure. It shapes, and like I'm pretty sure it actually most definitely shaped his character.
Yeah.
And the way he started to see things after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think another thing is like, to really judge the character of a man, go to his funeral and see what his funeral was like. Because at the funeral, there's no one that's acting up. No one's going there to try and impress that person. That person's not there anymore. So at his funeral, like literally thousands of people turn up, bro. Like
to your granddad's funeral?
Yeah, like that, because he knew so many people and he was so loved within the community, and it was genuine love. Like it wasn't fake love. It was genuine because of the honest and pure man that he was. You have thousands of people turning up to his funeral. And obviously you're sad that he's passing, but you're happy that he's lived the type of life that he's lived. Do you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure he was content. I'm confident he was content with the life that he lived before he passed away. So obviously that makes me happy. Obviously I'm sad that he's gone, but knowing the life that he lived, I'm proud of the life that he lived. And I can honestly say, if I can be half the man that he was, I'll be content as well.
It's amazing, man.
No, it's
Thank you for sharing that.
No worries, man.
I love the way that he's kind of structured it for us. So let's
let's
move on. Let's move on to the next six. Next six.
So the first 6 years, I don't know. So the transition from the first six to the second 6. So I was in school in Jordan for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Just like elementary school and stuff. And I could like tell you the alphabet before I came to the UK. That's pretty much it. I didn't know English when I came to the UK. But English wasn't a problem though, because kids pick up language like that. Bro. Kids pick up language so quick. So I thought I was fluent in English within like 2 weeks. I felt like I knew everything. But honestly, to be honest, I'm not really sure how I transitioned in. Like I have one of my guys tells a story, but I think it's just waffling. But apparently the first day that I was in, he's an Algerian guy. So they're like, "Hey, who here speaks Arabic? You're Algerian. Come in. Oh, sorry, hit the camera. Come speak with this guy. Translate."
Bro, I remember people in my
like,
school that needed the Algerian guy for you, bro. Like, yeah, chat, what's he saying?
They just found the first Arab guy. They're like, "Yeah, you come." Deep this, he didn't even speak Arabic though. So he comes, and according to him, I bit him on the first day. I'm like, nah, this guy's. And he's convinced that happened. I'm like, bro, I don't even remember this. Like, I don't. apparently he said something like that bit him. I was like, nah, I don't think that's true, man. I don't think that's true.
Nah, it's fine.
But like, I think I settled in quite quick, mainly because of
Where did you settle in? Where?
so Northwest London, Elwood Primary School.
Did you ever move primary school? Did you stay at the same primary school?
Nah, I had a very like same primary school, same
Yeah,
secondary
same
school.
nurse. Yeah. Same.
That's it,
You
man.
got to build it.
Coming to uni is the only time where where I've entered a place where I knew nobody.
Okay.
What about you?
Same.
I moved primary school in year 2 because we moved house. So I moved primary. I remember telling everyone in year 2, yeah, don't watch. I'll be back soon.
I see that. That's it.
I'll be like, yeah, light work.
Sign my shirt.
That shirt was the one, man.
Bro, and I remember moving on some random day. It wasn't even like end of the term. It was like a Tuesday or Thursday.
I'll see you tomorrow. And just ghost.
Bro, I remember I made up a random number that I'd be back in like 13 days. Don't watch, man. But keep it warm for me, yeah. But yeah, I remember going and I still convinced myself that I'll be back soon. It's normal. And I moved into this new school. Do you know what's the funny thing? It's only up the road, yeah. It's only up the road. But yeah, I remember moving in. It was funny because the school I went to, I used to think, yeah, that's a proper school. Like all my peoples are there. So I went in thinking, yeah, these lot don't know nothing, man. Let me show you the ropes. Like, yeah. So it was really interesting moving. But it's like going from year 2 to year 2 in another school up the road.
What was high school like for you, bro?
Bro, secondary school, best time of my life, bro. Like you guys know, bro, the banter in secondary school will never be topped. Ever, bro. Those laughs that you have Wednesday afternoon science lesson with a supply teacher. It's peak, bro. It's peak. The funniest ones is when like, the supply teacher comes in and they think they can tame the classroom. I'm like, bro, just know your levels, man. Yeah, but just the banter in secondary school was just immense. And I think like early on in secondary school, I wouldn't say I was malicious or naughty or stuff, but just your normal misbehaved kid, fights here and there, just like messing around in class. Because I understood that it wasn't important. I understood that you're 8, you're 7 years. Like teachers would say, yeah, you got to listen in class, otherwise you ain't getting uni. Like you're waffling, man. It's not that deep. It's not. I think I clocked onto that very early. Like we used to have this ICT thing. Yeah? I don't know if you guys had it. Like in year 7, it was called DIDA. It wasn't even like. It was just some next qualification. And she used to fully with her. She used to stand in front of the class and say, you need this to get into university. Bro. And all the other idiots in the class were like, yeah, say no more. But I clocked early on that that's just waffle. So early on, I was just like, nah, not happening.
That is sick. That's so strategic. I love that kind of thinking. Like, you just immediately know what is worth mashing work for.
No, I could just imagine you after lesson be like, by the way, guys, she's waffling. She's waffling,
bro. She's waffling. I'm like, you have these people that in primary school bang out work. Like in primary school, bang out work, everything, homework, everything. And then when it gets to the real exams, they're like, nah, bro, I'm not doing it anymore. Like you're worn out, you're burnt out by the time you get there.
Yeah, that's it. Did you have any mad like supply teachers?
Yeah, man, supply teachers was the one. Every school had.
Bro, I remember I had one supply teacher that came in. Yeah, this guy had the most admirable energy. Imagine he's only there for one day. Yeah, this guy tries to rearrange everything. He's like, all right, guys. But like, he's a very nice man. He's like, all right, guys. From now on, we're gonna use this cupboard to put all our books. Yeah. Bro, and I'm like, bro, this guy, no, he's only here for one day. He came out of it. But the thing is, it was so sick. I bought into the system. I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, we're going to use our books. So make sure when you come in here, you put your books there in future. And we're going to do this. In the beginning of every class, we're going to do, he started a whole system. But I was like, bro, this guy's only here for one day. But he came up with a mad system.
Some of them are on it though. Because like 99% of supply teachers are not about that life.
Yeah.
But you get that 1 or 2 supply teachers that you're like, you're messing about in class and then they flip and you're like, oh shit, this guy.
Did you have like those their teachers that kind of just fill in whenever?
That one teacher, we loved her, bro.
That's one of my favorite teachers in school. Was one of those guys, bro.
Yeah.
Loved that guy, man. He'd always keep us behind class because he was an Arab guy. He'd always keep us behind class. How are you not gonna get married? You can't listen. He'd be like, you can't go up to be like this. You have to fix up. Your parents are proud of you. And we were like 14. We're like, bro, chill, man. It's not like this.
That is hilarious.
He'd keep us behind.
That's the carrot he's dangling at a 14-year-old. How are you gonna get married?
But that's a father figure, isn't it? Like, but when he was taught, that's probably how it was like. Because a teacher, like my dad was telling me, teacher back then is not just a teacher. A teacher is like a father figure, bro. Like you can't chat to a teacher. That's a high rank in society. That's not the case anymore. Do you know what I mean? And I'm ashamed to say it, but like I was one of those guys.
Fully.
It is what it is. Got to live the life, man. Got to live the life.
Man, I'm getting that image of like a very strategic thinker, man. Even at like 15, you know when to work hard. You know when to not work hard. You're almost like mapping out the potential routes. Like, alright, cool, cross football off. What can I do? Education.
I remember that summer holiday before exams started. I was playing for like 3 football teams in the summer. I was like, let's make or break down, man.
If one don't sign me, the other 2 will.
Break, man. But yeah, man.
I
Like,
said it's corporate. I'm gonna sign up to
if I don't
everyone.
like it now, then it's not happening. It's not happening. But yeah, you gotta play it strategically as well. Like a lot of the teachers were surprised when I started doing well in school.
Yeah.
Because like my form tutor knew that I was good at school because she'd see me all the time. But a lot of other teachers thought I just wasn't about it. When I started getting results, like I remember my biology teacher used to hate me, fam. She used to hate me. One time I got like the highest in the class. And she sent me out for some other reason, but besides the point. And she used to tell the other people in the class, like, make sure you get higher than him next time.
No.
I was like, rah.
See that you there? You see him?
Make
Yeah.
sure you got
Make
it.
sure everyone smokes.
So she flopped though, because I was obviously.
Nah, that would have gassed me up differently.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That
I love
would have
that.
gassed.
So
man.
yeah, exactly. So after that, I was like, nah, say no
Nah,
more.
you ain't
Just
touching
like
me.
that. Yeah, say no more.
That's it.
Sofyan against the world.
Say no
bro.
more. I love that. Yeah, but to be honest, it's nice being an underdog as well.
Nah,
Yeah.
definitely, man.
I think I carried that with me in university as well. I'm not gonna lie. Like I
Nah,
think
man.
that pushed me to work in university. Just coming here, it can have two effects on you. Yeah? Coming to Cambridge especially, and seeing just the level was just elevated. Everyone here is just incredibly intelligent. So it can have two effects on you. You can either put you down, and you're gonna be like, "There's no point of me working," or you can be like, "Alright, "Cool. So let's just see how far we can go with this." You know what I mean? I think that's what I thought. I was like, "All right, it's obviously gonna be tough. It's not gonna be easy, but let's just see how far we can take this." And I think that's what pushed me in uni as well.
That's proper, man. What are the elite caliber traits that you want to try and work and build on as your career develops as a doctor, as a human being, as Sofyan?
What I said initially with so like I said, he's a role model, someone I look up to. So I look
Yeah.
at him and be like, what stuff does he have that I don't have? So that quality of being able to handle difficult situations, but at the same time being someone who people feel very, very comfortable around is something that I like to cultivate as well. So I feel like, I'm not trying to gas myself up, but I feel like people are comfortable around me. But sometimes in certain situations, I might handle it in a way that I would like it to be handled, not taking into account how that person would like the situation to be handled.
Yeah.
It comes a lot in medicine as well.
Yeah.
Like for example, we were talking about breaking bad news. I want it to be broken the way
Yeah.
for me, the way I see the optimal way of doing it is the way that I prefer it. But then
Yeah.
certain times you have to take a step back and be like, okay, this is a different person. He might want something different.
It's interesting because that's like kind of the downside of the way you think, which is the way I'm getting is like you're just very strategic. It's almost almost too logical for other people. You're like, well, obviously this is the best way to go about doing things. Like, how could there even be an alternative? The other day, me and a couple of friends in my college, we had to like resolve an issue between the three of us to do with like authorities in the college or whatever. And then we were like, okay, how are we going to go about doing this? I was like, fam, this is very straight. In my mind, it's very straightforward. It's like, yeah, it's just a basic conversation. I'll just go downstairs and chat to whoever I need to chat to. It's a simple convo. It's not that deep. And then my friend of mine, he was like, listen, bro, like that's how you think of it, innit? But there's other people involved.
So,
Even if you are right, you need to make sure, one, everyone's just aware of what you're doing because like you don't know the ramifications it can have. And two, when you let other people know what you're about to do, you can just... there's a benefit that they can contribute to what you're about to do that you would never have thought of. For you, it's so obvious, like you being me. And I was like, oh, you're right, man. Because even though, for me, it remained like, yeah, this is a very like easy, mundane thing. There's still aspects of what I was about to do that I would never have considered if I didn't run it past other people.
But you learn that with uni as well, I think.
Yeah.
Or I think it's just part of growing up.
Yeah.
It's not even uni. I think it's just growing up, becoming more mature, becoming more aware of things. Just starting to appreciate different viewpoints. Like when I was in secondary school, I was probably really stubborn. Like, I thought my way or it's probably wrong. But yeah, coming here, I think as well it's dealing with people who are extremely intelligent. And you're like, okay, this guy is obviously a very intelligent guy. If he has a different viewpoint to me, that doesn't necessarily mean he's wrong. I just have to take a step back and appreciate where he's coming from. Because and another thing as well is I've learned how to say, all right, cool, I'm wrong. Like before, I would be like, I'll keep arguing. Even like mid-argument, I was like, oh no, this guy might be right. I'll just keep arguing. Now, I have no problem saying, oh, you know what? Like sometimes mid-conversation, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you convinced me. You're right. Say no more. I'll take the eldest one time. It's not that deep. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
100%. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Nah, man.
Yeah, man.
That's so true. And then me and Saadadeen always say, like, every person you meet knows something that you don't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you should always walk into a conversation with that mindset because it kind of reduces the ego that many of us have.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Bro, one way we like to bring the conversation towards the end is to ask, like, what does success look like for Sofyan? What kind of things do you want to be doing more of in the future, man?
So ultimately, relationship to God is number one.
Mm-hmm.
That's above everything. What you do in this life doesn't mean anything as long as you don't have a strong relationship to God. That's the way I see things. So the way I remember some guy telling me, he's like, a successful man went to a monk or something, and they asked him, "How did you become successful?" And the guy was like, "Write a list of the top 5 most important things in your life." And the guy's like, "All right, cool." I wrote them, and then he's like, "Write a list of the next 20 things that's most important." So he has a list of 25 things, and then so the wise man tells him, "Oh, what do you think you're gonna do with this list now?" And he's like, "That's easy. I'll put most of my effort into the top 5, and then I'll put some of my effort into the next 20." And the guy's like, "No, you cross out the 20 and you put all your effort into the top 5. Because if they didn't make it into the top 5, then it's not worth you putting your time into." So number 1, and will always be number 1, is relationship with God. That will always be number 1. Number 2, family. Like family is like the most important thing in this world to me. So like making sure my mum and dad are healthy, making sure they have everything they need, making sure my brothers and sisters are brother and sister, I only have one sister. Making sure they have everything they need, making sure they're comfortable in life, making sure that I can, as an elder sibling, making sure I'm doing everything in my power to make their lives as easy as possible. So that's in terms of family. And then lastly, in terms of myself, I just want to continue to develop. I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to learn things. Because like once you think that you've completed education, then that's when you die, bro. Like you gotta keep learning, especially with medicine. You don't stop. The education doesn't stop. Like I've seen consultants in their 60s go online and search things up because it just doesn't stop. The education doesn't stop. So I think appreciating that you can never know enough is something that I hope to continue to have, or continue to have the same excitement for education, or excitement to learn new things. That's something I hope I continue to have in the future. But yeah,
Excitement for education. I like that, man. I like that a lot.